Hey guys, Emma here, coming on today to talk to you about Kratom addiction. This is something I've been wanting to talk about for a long time, honestly, and fortunately now I do think there's a lot more information out there about Kratom addiction and, the fact that it is an opioid, that you can pretty easily become physically dependent on it. I've known more people going to treatment for that and even going to detox and getting detox support like you would with other opioids nowadays from Kratom, so that's really awesome. It's kind of a recent development. The time of my Kratom addiction, these things weren't happening or really being talked about, so I just think it's really important to continue to spread awareness. Kratom is a legalized drug in the United States, but it's not in a lot of other countries due to its abuse potential. And I mean, sometimes people do use Kratom effectively to get off opiates, and that is fantastic. So no shame to anyone for that. I just really want to spread awareness because it is not this harmless substance you can just casually take without there being a potential for consequences, and that's something that I really, really wish I knew before I tried it. I was addicted to Kratom off and on for 4 years, and it honestly was the longest, most strenuous battle I've ever had with any substance. It was so hard for me to get off of. I had such a hard time with Kratom. I mean, it was like 4 years of hell off and on. My dog is joining in the video. So Kratom is commonly found in smoke shops and gas stations, pretty much everywhere. You can find it without looking very hard for it. When I first tried it, it was 5 years ago, and I really didn't know very much about it. That was kind of like, I would say, when it really came up in popularity, and again, it wasn't talked about very much, especially not the addiction component. I mean, I literally just tried it out of curiosity, and again, there wasn't very much information out there whatsoever about the dangers of it. So I really thought it was like CBD, because it was being sold and marketed really the same way. And I asked the smoke shop employee about it, and he essentially told me that as well. Very harmless, relaxing, helps with pain. But I was addicted to, there's a lot of different strains of Kratom, like white, yellow, green, red, and then a bunch of different versions within those strains. I always wanted white Kratom because it is the most stimulating, and as y'all know, I am a stimulant addict, and my Kratom addiction really began during a period where I had intentionally gotten as far away as possible from stimulants as I could because I knew they were gonna kill me. But as I've shared before, it's not effective to switch substances. But I will say I really was very innocent and naive when I tried it. I genuinely didn't understand what the capacity for addiction was with this drug. So, I mean, I became addicted almost overnight. I loved how it made me feel right from the get-go, and I was very surprised about how intense it was. And I loved it. I loved that it was giving me energy, that it took my anxiety away, melted my thoughts away, like I felt comfortable in my own skin, just like I've had the same kind of experience with every other substance I've been addicted to. And I will say the shock came for me about a week later when I tried to stop taking it, and I already had withdrawal symptoms. So as I said, Kratom is an opioid, so you will experience withdrawal symptoms, like opioid withdrawal. It's not going to be as intense as like fentanyl withdrawal and stuff like that, but it is very similar, and it is horrific. I mean, it's just the sickest you've ever felt, insane anxiety. Like, that was the worst part about it for me. I would just feel my heart racing in my chest, completely sleepless nights, sweating bullets, nauseous, throwing up, shitting, all of it. It's just horrific. And I was really shocked. And I just remembered my gut sinking and just this feeling of, oh no, what have I done? Like, it hit me like, this is withdrawal. I'd never experienced this before. This sucks. And that really became the battle. From that moment forward, it was almost immediately this hellish battle for me of trying to stop, going through the withdrawals over and over and over again, only to continue to use it again a couple weeks later. This was the battle forever. I started having to take Pepto-Bismol every day because Kratom makes you very nauseous. For the majority of my Kratom addiction, I took the capsules, and I would take about 75 capsules a day. So it was a lot of capsules. And yeah, I would get extremely nauseous, and that would help me not throw up. My whole life got out of whack. I mean, within like a week, you know, my job performance was not as good. I felt just tired. That was one of the main symptoms. I just felt exhausted all the time because, you know, I'd be at work in withdrawal on a daily basis, just suffering. Kratom just caused the most suffering I've ever been through with a substance, really. I mean, just because it was so prolonged. So, I mean, it was years of this. And I began getting the Vivitrol shot. For those of you who don't know what that is, it is the injection form of the drug naltrexone, which essentially blocks the opiate receptors in your brain. So it is used as a medical treatment for alcoholism and opioid addiction. And, you know, the shot is great because you get it and it lasts for 30 days. So it's not like you have to take a pill every day, and it also tends to be a little bit more effective for cravings. And yeah, it's, you know, with the pill, you could just decide to not take it one day. So essentially when you have it, if you were to drink or take opiates, you're not gonna feel any of the euphoric effects. I have drank on it before, and it just feels like a waste of alcohol. So it is an effective medication. However, the shot only works for Kratom for about a week. And I'll say like the second week, you're not gonna feel the effects as strongly, but you can still get high on Kratom after like a week. And still, I went and got this shot. So you have to wait 4 days. You have to be clean for 4 days before you get this Vivitrol, because otherwise you will go into expedited or accelerated withdrawal, which, if any of y'all been through that, you know, it is horrible. It's essentially, you know, when people have a opiate overdose and they get Narcan, you know, with the drug naloxone, it's essentially the same kind of thing. It's going to throw you immediately into intensified withdrawal because it just halts that drug. So that's why you have to wait with the Vivitrol, because it will do that. And I couldn't go 4 days, and this still applies to Kratom as well. So I couldn't wait that long, ever. A couple times I got it while I was literally actively under the influence of Kratom. So I would get the shot about every month and a half, maybe. Pretty consistently. Sometimes I would be like 2 weeks late to get it. Sometimes I would be on time with it. But essentially, this shot can be a really effective and a helpful thing to assist with recovery, but it's not going to cure you of addiction. And if that's the only thing you're relying on as a means of recovery, it's not going to work. And it's going to be a big waste, which it was for me, because I feel like I was deep down just hoping that it would fix me and cure me and I wouldn't have to do any work. And I just wasn't ready. But it's insane how much suffering I went through. I got the shot probably about 15 times, I would say, and pretty much every time I got it, it'd be an accelerated withdrawal for about a week. So I typically wouldn't sleep for like the first 3 or 4 nights. I would just be awake all night, sweating, holding onto my chest, feeling like, I almost feel like that feeling of like I'm gonna have a heart attack, like chest pain and just so much anxiety, throwing up, just absolutely miserable, and I'd have to go to work like that. But I was used to, I would be in withdrawal from Kratom at work all the time, because I did hold a job during my Kratom addiction, but it was because I figured out that if I came to work under the influence, it was unbearable for me to be there. I would get so anxious and like, I need to leave, that I wouldn't make it through. So I would intentionally not use until the second I was off work. So you bet I was always thinking about, and my life was just miserable. And it was. That was how I held my job. And so I basically just spent the majority of my time sick. And it was absolutely a nightmare. And it took me a really long time to get off of it. Also, Kratom is how every single one of my relapses has began. Even when I did relapse again on my drug of choice, it always started with Kratom. Because one, it's legal, it's very easily obtainable, it's not that expensive. And I used to rationalize it and be like, it's not a real drug. That's why I want to make this video. Because back then, it honestly was thought to be not a real drug. Like, you would hear people talking about it when it comes to like getting off of like heroin, but like it wasn't talked about, like the risks of it really weren't talked about. So I did a lot of research in my own time and found out how it is banned in a lot of countries due to the high addiction rates. So it, you know, it took a long time for me to, like, it was really, I think that made it really scary that I was able to rationalize it, which is what, you know, the addict mind loves and searches for rationalization. And it was a key one for me to reach to. And now, you know, I put in a lot of effort to fight back against that when my disease tries to trick me, because I know Kratom will be how my relapse will begin. So anytime I do get cravings for Kratom to this day. It is a very addictive substance. I really like the way it made me feel, at least, you know, for the most part. And I was addicted the first time I tried it. And so I still do get cravings, but now I think of it as like Kratom equals meth, which equals death. Like a simple equation for me. I had to learn this the very hard way, just that it will lead to my death, and I know that for a fact. So I don't go there. It's not an option for me. It's just not an option. But I'm so grateful that more people are talking about this and there's more resources for it. Man, it would have been amazing to go to a detox and get treated for Kratom addiction. Because it's just, if you've been through it, you know how miserable it is. It's not something you want to go through. So, yeah, I think that's about it for this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps me out a lot. If you have any video suggestions or anything you want to share with me, leave it down below. And I will see y'all next time. Take care of yourselves. Bye.